Hello, this is Angela and thank you for joining me. This is a 20-minute introductory Pilates workout. It's all being done on the mat and it's suitable for people that have not done Pilates before, or if you are a regular Pilates advocate, I'm sure you will also find it just a really nice, short workout to do to get a good workout. If you have been diagnosed with osteoporosis or you are at risk of it, all these exercises bar one are safe for you to do. And that one exercise which is on our back, I also give you a variation for during our little class here. So come on down, grab your mat and let's get started. So in this position, bend your knees so that your feet are flat on the floor and just make sure that your toes are pointing straight in front of you, straight ahead of you. Lying back, shoulders should be connected with the floor. And in this position, I'd like you to feel as if you're flattening that lower tummy area. It's almost as if you're balancing a wine glass on there, and you definitely don't want to spill that. And you'll find that in this position, if you were to hold yourself really steady, you'd be able to just place your hand under the small of your back. And it depends, your curve will be, might be big or might be small, depending on what your natural curvature is in your back. But essentially, this is what we call neutral spine position. And so when we do have our feet on the floor, we want to make sure that our spine is in this position. So from this position, let's start by doing some deep breathing. So breathing in through your nose, keeping that lower abdominal area nice and flat so that all our breathing is in the ribs. So really feel that those ribs are expanding outwards into your back. And then as you're breathing out, feeling those ribs collapse. Let's do a few more of those. Try to slow down those breaths. So as you're breathing in, feeling that rib cage expand outwards into your back. And then as you're breathing out, feeling those ribs collapse. So as we're doing this, we're starting to get a sense of feeling that engagement through the lower tummy area, which is essentially what we talk about when we say engaging your core. So you're just making sure you're keeping that flat. You don't want that imaginary wine glass to fall over. Keep those shoulders down and back. And from here, let's start by extending both arms up towards the ceiling, making sure the back of our shoulders is connected with the floor. Breathe in, and then as we're breathing out, extend those arms overhead. Keeping that neck nice and long as you're doing it, only taking those arms as far as you can reach without feeling that you're lifting those ribs. And then breathe in as you come back to the starting position. Let's do that again. Breathing out as you take those arms overhead, and then breathing in as you bring them back in again. Let's do it again. This time I'd like you to hold those arms up there, rotate from the shoulder so your palms are facing away, and then sweep those hands all the way down to your hips and then back up towards the ceiling. So breathing out as we take those arms overhead, breathing in as you fan them around and all the way down towards your hips. Let's do two more of those. Just feeling that nice warming up through the shoulders. Our body stays completely in that same position with our neutral spine. So we're not lifting those ribs. We should be feeling the back of our ribs connected with the mat the whole time. Okay, next time you bring those hands down, just leave them in that position, just leave them down on the floor. We're going to be going into some bridges. So from here, pressing that belly button down and bring yourself straight up. Trying to create a straight line from your knees all the way down to your shoulders. And then bring yourself back down again. So breathing out as you come up, breathing in at the top, and then breathing in as you come back down. If you're feeling a little bit unbalanced or unsteady on one side more than the other, take those hands out a little bit wider so that you're feeling that you're a little bit more grounded. If you're starting to push it a little bit more, you can bring both hands just on your chest, just to lower that center of support on the floor and back up again. We'll do one more of those. Bring it up. So we're starting to warm up through the pelvis, through the glutes here, and then back down again. From here, let's take both hands down to the floor. Bring those legs up towards the ceiling and then bend those knees. Press that belly button down. From here, we're doing toe taps. So make sure that you're keeping that core switched on there. Tap one foot towards the floor and then bring it back up again. Now, because we've essentially taken our feet off the floor and our pelvis is tilted in this position, our back should feel more as if it's imprinted into the spine here. So making sure that there's no movement through the torso of your body. So if your back wants to arch, try and resist it. Just only go as far as your back allows you. So if you feel to get your foot to the floor, you have to arch your back. That means you've gone a little bit too far. So it's all about just making sure that that core is switched on as you're doing this to control the movement. We can add to this now by doing both legs at the same time. So bringing both toes forward. Again, listen to your back. If you find that you can't hold that core enough to stop your back arching, just take those feet as far as you can towards the floor. And we're all different in terms of what our reach is. Because my back is quite curved, I can't reach my toes to the floor without arching, so I know what my limits are here. And that's the beauty of Pilates. It's very customizable to everyone, and all body shapes and all sizes. And one last one. Okay, and from here, bring both feet down to the floor. Let's bring ourselves all the way back up to a bridge. Feel a nice stretch right through the front of the body, and then bring it back down again. Let's do that one more time. And back again. Okay, for this next one, we're going into a variation of an exercise called hundreds. You can do this with your feet on the floor. You can bring those legs into tabletop or even up towards the ceiling if you prefer. If you have osteoporosis or osteopenia, you could do this with your head on the floor. Otherwise, you can curl up. So depending on what you're starting with, let's take those hands up towards the ceiling. Breathe in to start with, and then as you're breathing out, curl yourself up. It's only a small curl, and from here, let's do some pulses with those hands. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep going with that one, just really pacing your breathing, keeping that scoop through that tummy area. And it almost feels as if it's your chest that's come up, not necessarily your head. And let's come back down to the floor and give those arms a break. Breathe in, and let's come back up again. We're going to do 2 more of these. Again, pulsing through that area. Really feeling that scoop right through that tummy area as you're doing this. And making sure that if you do need to, you can take one hand, just place it behind your head, those of you who've got your head up, and come back down again. We'll do 1 more of those to finish up. Breathe in to start with. As you're breathing out, curl yourself up again, and let's go. We'll do 3 last breaths here. Really nice and controlled, long fingertips, really feeling that scoop through that tummy area. And then bring your hands back up again and come down to the floor. Let's come up into a bridge again. Feel that stretch right through the front of the body. Come back down. We'll do 1 more of those. Okay, from here, let's roll over onto one side. And we're going to work a little bit more on our glutes. So for this one, you can just lie down on your side. You could also do this in this sort of position if you wish to. I find this helps you to isolate through the pelvis and the glutes a bit more. Lift that waist off the floor. It's as if you're pushing that pelvis away. And what you almost feel like you're sticking your bottom back behind you. It's like you're on the ground on a chair on your side. Check that those kneecaps are right on top of each other. And from here, breathe in to start with, core is switched on. As you're breathing out, separate those knees. And then breathe in as they come back again. Let's do a few of these in this position. So the key things to bear in mind when you're doing this, core is switched on so that you feel as if you've got a little bit of space between your waist and the floor. Each time your knees come back down again, they should be right on top of each other. Otherwise, it's very easy for the hips to roll back. And you should be starting to feel this just in that glute area, not in the legs. You may, when you're first starting, feel it in the legs, but if that's the case, just bring yourself a little bit more forward. Okay, we'll just do 2 more of these in this position. So if you put your finger there in your bottom, you should really try and, feel those muscles working underneath your finger in that glute. I'm going to add to this now. We're going to lift and extend that leg in the distance. And from here, core is again switched on. We're going to do small circles. So it's really controlled. That's it. In the upper body, just keep those shoulders down and back. Try not to hold any tension up here. It's very easy to do sometimes when you're going through a bit of discomfort elsewhere in the body. But learning to just isolate and just focus your attention and the intent on that area that you want to work really helps to relax the body elsewhere. I've just changed direction with that circle as well. Let's just do 2 more here. And let's bring that leg in and give that a break. We're going to come back up again. We're just going to do 1 final exercise here. And this is, with this exercise, we're going to sweep that leg forward, keeping it at that same height as the hip, rotate from the hip. And from there, let's do little taps down towards the direction of the floor. So they're only little tiny ones. You don't need to touch the floor. And we're going to go for about 20 here. This can get really quite tough, so you really will feel that there's a little burning happening in those glutes there. And even if it's too much when you start off with, you'll find as you get more practice with these exercises, you really build a lot of resistance and endurance in working this way. Let's do about 5 more. It's a rough 20. And from here, you just bring that knee down, give that a little bit of a rub. Okay, while we're in this position, I'd like you to straighten your body completely. Just make sure that you've got your head supported on that arm, core is switched on, and from here we're going to do double leg lifts. So this is quite a challenging exercise if you haven't done it before, but after trying it a few times, your body tends to normalize to moving this way. If you do feel that it's really uncomfortable on the lower hip there, you can have just a little bit of soft padding there, not too much, just to lessen the burden a bit. If you do have bursitis in that area, you may find that this is not the right exercise for you to do, in which case we've got plenty of other exercises that we do in our Pilates membership. Okay, next time you come up again, hold yourself there, 3 little taps, 1, 2, 3, and back down again. Come back up again, and 1, 2, 3, and back down. Keep going with that one. So the key area that we're working through here is the obliques, which is our waist muscles. And how you can make this a little bit tougher is to have one arm in the air. You can also have a little squeezy ball between your feet, so you're squeezing that with your ankles, back up and down. You can also start lifting the upper body as well, and then back down again. So there's a few different ways to progress this if you want to. We'll do one more here, and we'll give that a break. Okay, from here, let's roll over and do that same sequence, working both the glutes and through the obliques on the other side. So set yourself up. So lying down on your side, let's start with the glutes. Bend both knees in. Want to feel as if you're sticking your bottom back a little bit. Lift that waist off the floor or push that hip down away. And from here, let's breathe out as we separate those knees. Breathe in as we bring them back in again. And let's keep going with that one. Again, taking just a little bit of a moment to make sure that you're set up correctly as you're doing the exercise. Each time the leg comes down, the kneecaps should be right on top of each other, making sure you're not letting those hips roll back at all. Sometimes it helps just to keep your hand there to make sure that the hips don't go too far back. And if you're not sure whether you're starting to work the right muscles, just putting your hand just on the sort of the muscular area of your glutes, and just start to really feel that you're squeezing those muscles each time you're separating those knees. There's a strong mind-body connection when you're doing these things, and sometimes if you're not feeling it in the right area, you almost have to will your body to switch on the muscles that you want to see doing the exercise. Let's just do a couple more here. Again, making sure you've got a little bit of space between your waist and the floor there. And last one of those. From here, let's straighten that leg out at hip height, and we're going into circles. So keeping it nice and controlled. We're trying really hard to isolate just the leg when we're doing this exercise, so the rest of the body is completely still. And you may find when you're first starting, there's a lot of waving going on through the body, but as you get better at switching on those core muscles, you'll find that they help you to isolate and just use that leg to do it, and those glutes muscles in particular, which is where most of the strength is coming from. Let's change direction and go the other way. I hope you're still smiling as you're doing this. Admittedly, at times it feels more like a grimace than a smile when you're doing these types of exercises. And we'll just do about 3 more in this direction. Again, remembering to keep that core gently switched on as you're doing all this, trying to keep those shoulders down and back. Okay, just give yourself a little bit of a break, give that bottom a little bit of a rub if it needs it. And now let's go into that last exercise. From here, straighten that leg out, bring it forward just as far as what the other leg is. Rotate from your hip, so both your knee and your toe pointing downwards. And let's go for some pulses. They're very small pulses. We're going to try and do about 20. This is like the finale to the exercise. If you've got just a little bit of something left in the tank here for those poor glutes, this is where we sort of finish it off. Okay, we're on to our last 5. I'd say we're about there, aren't we? 4, 3, 2, 1, and bring that forward. Give that a little bit of a rub. It's always a little bit of relief when we finish those glute exercises. Okay, straighten that body out again. Core is just gently switched on. We're going to be working those obliques, so you can just have one hand down here just to balance you. From here, breathe in to start with. As you're breathing out, bringing both legs up to about hip height, breathing in as they come closer to the floor. So we're trying to keep going here without having a break or without letting those feet touch the floor. And as you get more practice with it, it becomes a bit easier to do this. It's very easy when you're doing this exercise to either roll back or roll forward too much. So do look down every now and then, just making sure that those ribs and those hips are stacked on top of each other. And you should really feel that most of the strength for this exercise is coming from that waist. Core is switched on. So we're really working right through the side of the body, but without actually obviously bending the side of the body as well, which is what makes us a bit more suitable for people with osteopenia or osteoporosis. Next time we go up, we're going to do those 3 little taps. Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Back down towards the floor. Back up again. Core stays switched on. Back down. We'll just do a few more of those. 1, 2, 3. That's it. When you're doing this, it's very easy to see toes turning towards each other. Really try and feel that it's the thigh muscles doing that work when we do the taps. That's it. Last 2. I hope you're still smiling. And bring that back down again. Okay. From here, just rolling over onto your front. We're going to do just a little bit of work for that upper back. And this is a very subtle exercise. I want you to almost feel as if you've got 2 dots on the top of each shoulder and another 3rd dot just in the center where your bra line would be, if you wear a bra. And I want you to feel as if you're squeezing that line down from each shoulder tip down to your bra line. So it's almost like we're moving those upper back muscles downwards and together at the same time. So from this position, just lying down, your forehead will be on the mat. Just relax the arms next to you there, shoulders down and back, bent elbows. And from here, it's just a squeeze and a release. So keep that forehead on the floor to start off with. Keep making sure you're keeping those core muscles engaged as you're doing this exercise. It's very easy to overuse your lower back when you're doing these types of exercises. So the more you can keep those core muscles switched on, the more you're protecting your back. Just doing a couple more, just like that. And then we're going to add to it. So next time you squeeze through those upper back muscles, core stays switched on. Just think if you could lift the neck and the head off the floor. Keep that chin just gently tucked in and then back down again. Let's do a couple more of these. And next time you do it, we're going to also see if we can lift those elbows and those hands off the floor and then back down again. Admittedly, these are not the most comfortable of exercises, and you could also try doing these just on your knees instead, so that you're not down on the floor. But just make sure you've always got those core muscles engaged so that your lower back doesn't take too much of the brunt of the exercise. Okay. One last variation. Next time you come up, just take those arms out, bend the elbows, and bring them back down again. Let's do just a few more of those. Really feel as if those upper back muscles are squeezing towards each other. Do 3 more of these. So you're trying to keep that lower body relaxed. So if you find your glute muscles want to switch on, just really try and not do that. Really keep those core muscles switched on. Sometimes it helps to just turn your toes towards each other, and that helps to switch off all those hip muscles. One last one. And it's always good to get those done. Let's come on back into a child pose and just give our lower back a bit of a stretch, because those exercises do tend to strain us more in that area than most. From this position, let's come on into a plank. So for a plank, you can either do this on your elbows or on your wrists. If you're doing on your wrist, just making sure that, index finger, middle finger are pointing straight ahead, and that you bring your shoulders and place them right on top of those wrists. So you're not back here somewhere, they're right on top of each other. If you do need to, put a little bit of extra padding under your wrist to make the wrists a little bit higher than your fingers, to take the strain off the wrist a bit. And hold yourself in that position. What you can do here as well is bring yourself up onto your toes if you wish. We're just going to hold that for about another 10 or 15 seconds. So it's very important when you're doing these planks not to let your hips dip down. Just make sure that core, it almost feels like those core muscles are pushing you up at the same time, but you're still trying to hold that body in a straight line. Last few. And bring those knees down if you're on your knees, and bring yourself back to a child pose again. And we're just going to do one final exercise. So for this one, bringing those knees so that the hip distance apart from each other, wrists are just right under your shoulders, core is switched on. And from here, we're going to take one leg back, and then, assuming that's all good, take the opposite arm out as well. So neither the arm or the leg go higher than your hip. And then bring them in. Let's do the same with the other two. Taking them out, core stays switched on. It's as if you're balancing a book on your back the whole time. So you're trying not to twist or rotate through your back as you're doing this. And this is a really nice exercise for bringing together a lot of different elements. We're using our core muscles, we're using balance and stability. We're using all those spinal muscles as well to help balance us and hold us in that position. We'll do one more. Make sure shoulders are down and back. You've got a nice long neck. Chin is just gently tucked in. And from there, bring yourself all the way back into child pose. Just take those knees out a little bit so you can go a little bit deeper into it. And just feel that stretch right through your body. Okay. I might leave it there for this one. I hope you found that a nice, quick, tick all boxes kind of workout. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.